Hey guys, what's up? JK with Porn Reboot here. I'm on the way to the gym. Not on the way back as usual, so you're gonna see me sipping on my pre-workout. I want to talk a little bit about video games today. And the reason why is because last night, just randomly, I found myself looking up a video game. Now, I don't play video games anymore, but I'll tell you this much. I used to be not an addict, but I had a bad video game habit. And I really didn't think it was a big deal because I love video games. Holy shit. Till today, I still love it. That's something that's never gone away. I just can't afford to play video games anymore. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about real quick. Anyway, I found myself looking up Final Fantasy VII, the remake that they're working on. And I've actually been following this for 2 years because it was Final Fantasy VII that really, when it came out in 1997, for those of you who are fans of RPGs, that was the game that just blew my mind. That shit just, it was such an adventure for me, and I was going through a very, very rough time in my life then, in my childhood. And Final Fantasy VII was one of the things that was an escape for me. It was one of the few, actually the only place in my life at that point where I could achieve anything. I know it's sad to say, but yeah, it was a rough time. But I loved that game. Very close to my heart. I actually still have many of the soundtracks. For those of you who are fans, I still listen to them. I'm not even kidding. As recently as last year, Aerith's theme and like the main theme in the world where you're writing about, and Sephiroth's theme as well. I love that shit. I love that score. Anyway, I found myself looking it up and I was like, man, so nostalgic. I think I'm gonna start playing video games again when Final Fantasy VII comes out. I don't know how I'm gonna have the time because I work like freaking 80 hours a week, but I'll make the time. And it got me thinking about some of y'all out there who love video games very much, but are at a point where video games are causing you more harm than good. And what I mean by that is, my personal philosophy is, if you are not where you want to be in your relationships, your sexual life, if you are struggling with pornography, if you are not where you need to be financially, and what I mean by where you need to be financially is a certain standard. You need to be making enough that you have a surplus. You need to have disposable income. If you're one of those people who you've ever gotten on a call with me or a member of my team and you wanted to work with us one-on-one and we quoted our fee to you and you were just like, holy shit, that's so fucking expensive, then you're not where you need to be financially. That's the truth. That's the bottom line. So if you're not where you need to be in these areas of your life, you should not be playing video games, brother. You need to get those areas fixed. And one of the reasons why is that video games take up so much time in a very insidious way. We don't see the time passing by. It flies away so easily because we're living in this alternate universe that's very exciting and very engaging. But we are pissing away our most precious resource while we play video games, and that is time. You never get the time back. Imagine playing a game where you play for an hour and a half and you die and you gotta restart and play it over. You just gave away an hour and a half that you're never going to get back. Unless, of course, you put aside that hour and a half just to play that game. But if you put aside an hour and a half and you died or you didn't achieve whatever your mission was, and you're like, fuck it, another hour, motherfuckers, let's do this, let's get these guys. Well, you just threw away another hour. And you can't get that back. So that's one of the first things. It's your time. You never get your time back. And that's time that can be dedicated towards improving your life, improving your relationship status, improving your health. It's time that could be dedicated to improving your skill set that's going to help you in your career, to make more money, and to be able to be more secure in your life. And for many of you guys, just putting in that work and that self-discipline is going to solve most of your self-esteem problems. The second thing is that video games for many men is a gateway to pornography. I've had men who have locked down all their devices. Like JK Covenant Eyes is on everything. I have awesome filters. I'm good to go. There's no way I could watch pornography. Suddenly I get a text. Oh, JK, I slipped on the Xbox. The community Xbox in the living room. It wasn't my fault. My roommates left it out. Why? You know that it can connect to the internet. You know that. You know, why are you doing that? If you keep slipping on your goddamn console, stop using the console. There's no filter for it. Just pack it and give it away. And when I tell guys this, when I tell them, hey man, listen, there's no real filter for it, I could say, it would be easy for us to say, hey, only play games when you're in the presence of someone, but you know that's probably not going to happen. You can't control that, and you keep slipping on this. And once you've closed off every avenue, and you've set up very strong boundaries, well, when the urge comes along, you know how it is. You know what it's like. You're like a crack addict. You're just looking for something that can stimulate you sexually. You're going to use your Xbox or your PS3. And when I tell men, perhaps it's best that during the early stages of the rewiring period, you take a break from your console. Maybe you give it to somebody to hold on to it for like 90 days so that you can get the basics of the porn reboot system down without any interruptions. Always. There's always silence. If I'm speaking to them on the phone, it's just, I'm like, hello? Hello? Are you there, bro? There's always silence because it's sacrilege. I have suggested something like, what? My video game? I thought I could quit porn and still have video games. Now this is being taken away from me? They're shocked. But yeah, in my system, I'll tell you guys straight up, for those of you who have considered working with us, sometimes you're going to have to kind of hit the pause button on video games for a while. The third thing is that video games are a distraction from life. There is an amazing world out here. There are so many things that you can do and you can accomplish. And not only is it a distraction from life, but excessive video games make you a below average man. You have so much potential, and you are not living up to your own potential, whatever it is, when you play video games, because all your sense of achievement comes from the game. Everything. Whenever you win, you get a little dopamine hit. You win again, you get a little dopamine hit, and you keep chasing that hit. You think you're achieving things. In the video game world, you could be a complete baller. Those of you who play RPGs. So this is how deep into video games I was. Let me give you guys an example. This is how deep into video games I used to be. I was a beta tester for World of Warcraft way back in the day. And I knew people who were ballers in World of Warcraft. They had so much money. They were the first ones to get the mounts. I mean, they had everything. Shit, I was borrowing stuff from them. And I knew these people in real life too. But in real life, they had nothing going on for them. You know? Who gives a shit if online you're a level whatever tank with the most exclusive armor and items that you've spent hours and hours getting. But in real life, you're a 32-year-old that still lives with his parents because you can't afford to pay rent on your own. Don't give me that bullshit like, oh boy, oh JK, in my city it's so expensive, everybody lives with their roommate. Fuck out of here, dude. You're a grown-ass man. I don't care why you're living with your parents. If you have the option not to, you shouldn't be. There's so much going on in life. You think you've achieved something. What you don't see is that over time, video games lull you into a false sense of accomplishment. It's easy to compete online because not all your emotions are engaged. In the real world, all your senses are engaged. Your sight, your hearing, your sense of smell, taste, everything is involved in competing and winning and achieving an accomplishment in the real world. So it feels different. It takes a whole nother level of skill. You're not just exhausted mentally when you try to achieve something, you are also exhausted physically. So you got to take all these things into account. And all those hours you are losing playing video games to excess, those are the hours that you could have been spending in the real world winning. The feelings that you get from winning in the real world, brother, they stay with you for the long term because they are the building blocks of your self-image. You cannot build your self-image, your self-esteem either. You can't build those things on your accomplishments in the virtual world, in video games. So bear that in mind. Again, listen, there's a time and place for video games. I will always be a video game fan. From my first Atari, where I got my 30-in-1 games. I don't know if you guys remember, there was old school games like Karateka and Ninja and the original Mario Brothers and the fuck else was there? God, Miss Pac-Man. All these were like on one cartridge. I mean, I love that shit. I still think back and I get a fucking chemical rush because it's so exciting. You know, in my mid-20s, well actually my early 20s, I was a big fan of Age of Empires. I can still whoop ass in Age of Empires. God, I love video games, but I love my life more. I love the self-image I've built for myself. I love waking up in the morning and accomplishing things and leveling up in real life. It's a different feeling. And when you've accomplished certain things and you've hit certain goals in your life and you've secured your self-image, you've secured your material world, then you can put aside time for video games. And you really enjoy it now because I know you still enjoy it, but you're not gonna come out of your virtual world and go like, holy shit, I can't pay rent. You know, you can come out and you can just move on with your life, all right? So that's my little thoughts today when it comes to video games, brothers. I'm sure that things are different from how they used to be back in the day when I played video games. I'm sure video games are a lot more exciting and a lot more engaging and definitely a lot more addictive. One last thing I want to mention is some of the communities. I remember being at a friend's house and he was on his PS3 and he was playing some first-person shooter, and some of the shit that was coming out of these kids' mouths, I was like, holy shit. When I played video games, kids did not talk shit like that. Or maybe it was because I played RPGs, and maybe that's because there's a different kind of gamer who plays RPGs than plays these first-person shooters. Maybe correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. But Jesus Christ, some of the things they knew, I could immediately tell that these kids, most of them, watched a ton of pornography because just the references that they made were crazy. And these are 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. It's crazy. And I'll talk about this in another video, probably pretty soon. But we look at our society now, and people go like, oh my God, gun control. You know, a kid walked into a school and shot 17 other kids and shot 15 other kids. We need to control the guns. You don't need to control any fucking guns. You need to control what is happening in our culture. It's a cultural thing. When kids are desensitized to killing through playing hours and hours of video games, don't get me wrong, when I was growing up, I played first-person shooters as well. Like, I played hours and hours of it. I didn't go out and shoot anybody. Nor did the kids who were really angry kids with depression, a lot of angst. They played those games too, but they didn't go out and shoot anybody either. When you have a culture that has been completely permeated by violent pornography, and these days is there a difference between pornography and violent pornography, really? Because most of it is violent. Most of it is causing you to detach from being a human being, from being compassionate, from the ability to empathize with another human being. I've said it again and again, that porn fuses the part of your brain that processes pleasure and violence as well. So you become desensitized to the suffering of other people, or you look at the suffering of a woman, that something is being done to her, and both the pleasure parts of your brain and the violence part are now fused, and you're enjoying that. You're getting off on that. Where you add excessive violent video gaming to that. Again, excessive violent video gaming. I don't think there's anything wrong with it in moderation. I actually think it's a good outlet for many men. But for men who have problems with pornography, who are not out there in society, for men who do not have a strong masculine figure to lead them in life, for men who are not able to adjust socially, who are antisocial, when you throw them into that mix with violent video games, you have kids who just don't give a fuck about human life. Now that's a whole different topic. I won't get into that. Today, I just want to talk about video games. I want to reiterate that I love video games. I'm not attacking your video games. But please, get your shit together in life first. And if you're struggling with pornography, just reach out to us, all right? We have a lot of free resources. Visit www.pornreboot.com. You'll get a whole bunch of free resources there. Visit elevatedrecovery.org. We've got a ton of free resources, and start using those resources to begin your journey to freedom from pornography. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Have a wonderful day. I'm gonna go work out. Bye.